takes a deep breath. You know that feeling when you walk into a space and something just clicks? When the air feels different, when the light hits just right, and for a moment, just a fleeting, perfect moment, you realize you're standing exactly where you're supposed to be. That's not luck. That's not accident. That's timber frame luxury meeting Barndominium design. And it's about to change everything you thought you knew about home. But here's what they don't tell you in those glossy magazines or those perfectly curated Instagram feeds. This isn't just about exposed beams and open floor plans. This is about something older, something that runs deeper than trends or hashtags. This is about reclaiming a connection we lost somewhere between the suburbs and the skyscrapers. And it starts with understanding why a timber frame isn't just construction. It's a conversation between human hands and living wood that's been happening for thousands of years. Picture this. You're standing in what used to be just an idea, just a sketch on paper, just a dream whispered late at night when the mortgage statements came in and the square footage felt like a prison. But now you're standing beneath timber beams that rise above you like cathedral arches, each one a masterpiece of engineering and art, each one telling you that luxury doesn't have to mean cold marble and sterile lines. It can mean warmth. It can mean texture. It can mean coming home to something that feels like it's been waiting for you your entire life. The light is different here. Have you noticed? In a timber frame structure, natural light doesn't just enter, it performs. It dances across those hand-hewn beams, creating shadows that shift throughout the day like a living painting on your walls. Morning light is honey golden, afternoon light is bold and confident, and evening light turns those massive wooden posts into pillars of amber fire. But let's back up. Let's talk about what brought us here, because the Barndominium revolution didn't happen by accident. Somewhere along the way, we collectively woke up. We looked around at our cookie-cutter subdivisions, our beige walls, our rooms that could be anywhere, in any city, in any life that wasn't quite ours. And we said no. We said there has to be more. We said we want space that breathes, that lives, that tells our story instead of some developer's profit margin. The Barndominium concept took that hunger and gave it form. It said, what if we took the honest simplicity of agricultural buildings, those structures that have stood for generations, weathering storms and seasons with quiet dignity, and we elevated them? What if we took that raw, functional beauty and we infused it with every modern comfort, every luxurious detail, every dream we've been told we had to compromise on? But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where most people stop, satisfied with the concept, ready to slap some barn doors on drywall and call it authentic. That's not what we're talking about. Because when you bring timber frame construction into the equation, when you commit to that level of craftsmanship, you're not just building a home. You're creating an heirloom. You're establishing a legacy. You're putting down roots so deep they'll outlive you, your children, maybe even your children's children. Timber frame construction is ancient technology meeting modern precision. Each beam, each post, each joint is a calculated piece of structural art. These aren't studs hidden behind drywall, anonymous and forgotten. These are the bones of your home, exposed and celebrated, massive timbers. We're talking 8 by 8, 10 by 10, sometimes even 12 by 12 inches. All hand-selected, hand-cut, hand-fitted with joints that have names like mortise and tenon, scarf joint, dovetail. Names that sound like they belong in a medieval guild hall, because they do. The way these beams come together, it's almost spiritual. There's this moment during construction, they call it the raising, where the frame goes from horizontal to vertical, where it stands up for the first time. It's a ceremony. It's been a ceremony since before anyone was calling anything a barndominium, since before luxury meant granite countertops and smart home systems. And when those massive timbers lock into place, When that structure rises against the sky, you can feel it. Something permanent. Something true. Something that says, I'm not going anywhere. Now, let's talk about space. Because in a timber frame luxury barndominium, space isn't just measured in square feet. It's measured in possibility. Those soaring ceilings. We're not talking about your standard 8 or 9 feet here. We're talking 15, 20, sometimes 30 feet of vertical space. They don't just make a room feel bigger. They change the way you breathe. They change the way you think. Suddenly, limitation feels like a concept from your old life. From those cramped spaces where you couldn't fully expand, couldn't fully become. The open floor plan that naturally emerges from timber frame design isn't about following trends. It's about how the structure itself wants to exist. Those massive posts every 12, 16, 20 feet, they're doing all the work. They're carrying the entire load of the roof, which means the walls between them. Optional. Completely, gloriously optional. You want a great room that flows seamlessly into a chef's kitchen that opens onto a dining space that connects to a reading nook bathed in afternoon sun? Done. No load-bearing walls to negotiate with. No structural compromises. Just pure, intentional space designed around how you actually want to live. If you found this video inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means to me, and it helps keep the design ideas coming your way. And the texture. Oh, the texture. This is where luxury stops being about price tags and starts being about soul. Each timber beam carries its own story in its grain. That's decades, sometimes centuries of growth, of seasons, of storms survived, all written into the wood. Some people go for smooth, milled perfection. Others want the rough-hewn look, where you can still see the marks from the craftsman's tools, where the wood feels alive under your hand, where imperfection becomes character. There's no wrong answer here. There's only your answer. Your aesthetic. Your vision of what luxury should feel like when you're living inside it every single day. But here's what elevates this from beautiful to transformative. It's the way a timber frame luxury barndominium lives between worlds. It's rustic without being rough. It's modern without being cold. It's luxurious without being pretentious. You can have heated concrete floors and exposed ductwork, reclaimed barn wood and floor-to-ceiling glass, a soaking tub under exposed rafters, and a wine cellar behind a sliding barn door. The contrasts don't conflict, they complement. They create tension and harmony simultaneously. And that tension? That's where the magic happens. The metal exterior typical of barndominium construction. That standing seam steel that's both incredibly durable and surprisingly elegant, creates this beautiful juxtaposition with the organic warmth inside. You step through the door, and it's like moving from one world into another. The industrial toughness of that exterior shell becomes a protective embrace for the handcrafted intimacy within. It's armor and sanctuary all at once. If you love this type of look, hit that subscribe button to help us create more videos. And let us know in the comments what you'd love to see in future videos. Let's talk about light again, because I'm not sure I've made you understand how fundamentally different it is in these spaces. With those high ceilings and strategic window placement. And in a timber frame structure, you can put windows almost anywhere because you're not dependent on traditional wall framing. You start to live with light in a completely new way. Clear-story windows up near the ceiling bring in sky and clouds. Large picture windows frame views like living art. Skylights between timber beams turn your ceiling into a changing canvas of sun and shadow, clouds and stars. And at night? At night, with strategic lighting highlighting those timber beams, casting dramatic shadows into those soaring spaces, maybe a fire crackling in a statement fireplace, maybe pendant lights dropping down from 20 feet up like captured stars. At night, this space transforms again. It becomes intimate despite its scale. It becomes cozy despite its grandeur. That's the paradox of great design. It can hold multiple truths at once. The Barndominium aspect also brings something else to the table: efficiency. Not the boring kind of efficiency, not the kind that's about cutting corners or saving pennies. The kind of efficiency that's actually about freedom. These structures go up faster than traditional construction.